What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And today I'm going to be talking about Assassin's Creed 2007. And this video has been in the works for quite some time, but I finally was able to get this video out as soon as possible because I've been really wanting to talk about this game in general and what I thoroughly thought about this game when I played this game for the very first time back in 2007. And I really want to tell you my experience about this game and what I really think why this game was the most pinnacle game of the whole entire saga, as it were, and why I think that this one is by far one of my all-time favorites, opposite that of other games like like Assassin's Creed 2 or Brotherhood or Revelations or Black Flag or Origins or Odyssey or Valhalla. Now, point being, Origins was in fact my favorite one in the new RPG Assassin's Creed. While Assassin's Creed 2007 did retain most of its unique and visual fidelity and its core gameplay mechanics and aesthetics, this game was by far one of the most pinnacle games in history of video gaming in general. So, my experience in this game when I first played it was nothing but short of amazing. I love the fact that where this game was able to utilize the infrastructure and structure of this game to where you go back in time to play as a descendant of that of Desmond Miles, voiced by Nolan North, by none other that did the voice of Nathan Drake in the Uncharted series. But I think when it comes to Assassin's Creed, this game really benchmarked the pinnacle of this series, basically because of the fact of what I just previously mentioned, but of what this game was actually initially to show when it came to this franchise as a whole. And I think that's where Assassin's Creed 2007 really did a lot of things that a lot of people weren't really quite expecting when this game initially came out. And I think what really made this game so unique as well was in fact that it's a parkour system type of game. This game was actually inevitably was supposed to be a Prince of Persia style type of gameplay, to where it was supposed to be called Prince of Persia Assassins. I'm sure a lot of people did not know that, but it's very unique as to how this game can really show the parkour systems and the parkour systems of that from Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time to Warrior Within and the Two Thrones in the Sands of Time trilogy. But Assassin's Creed, what is by far one of the most interesting games because of what this game was actually initially was able to do, as I previously mentioned. And it's so cool going back, not basically time travel, but to play as a descendant of someone. I think it's one of the most intriguing and one of the most robustful ways of playing a game like Assassin's Creed. I think Assassin's Creed, it did a lot of things that I wasn't really quite expecting as well. This game really had a very interesting core mechanic, which is storytelling. I thought when it came to the storytelling from the first one to the second one to Brotherhood and Revelations, I think those games are by far the best ones when it comes to the old school style of Assassin's Creed. Did amazingly well with its core gameplay and progression with Ezio and Altair in the first one, and how they really benchmarked to what we have now today with Assassin's Creed Mirage. And we do have Assassin's Creed Red coming out, I think, much later this year during the quarter four of late 2024. And I'm really thoroughly interested of where that game is going to go in terms of its mechanical systems, with its combat, with the stealth and everything else. I'm really kind of curious of where that game is going to go. But point being, we are talking about Assassin's Creed 2007. This game is, I think, in my personal opinion, other than it being very old, I would say this game did not age very well. I have played this game on my I would say maybe about a year ago. And like I said, it did not age very well on console. But I'm sure it's a lot better on PC because, in the PC market, games do intentionally age better than on console. But other than that, I really think that this game still holds up today in 2024 because it's interesting how far Assassin's Creed has come. I really think that when it came to Assassin's Creed 2007 as well, it's so good because I love the fact that it's the setting that's involved. It's in the Third Crusade. Jerusalem, Acre, Damascus, and all these different types of vistas. And in this era of this game is what really makes this game stand apart from what Assassin's Creed 2 was able to do with its setting, and Brotherhood and Revelations and Black Flag and Origins, and with the newer ones, of course. But I think Assassin's Creed 2007, what really makes this game steadily hold up, in my personal opinion, other than the combat focus in this game is quite slow, like it is in Assassin's Creed Mirage, is the fact that, it's like I say, this game really shows off what this era was actually, what actually looks like in real life. For what I understand, that the era that Assassin's Creed 2007 takes place in is in fact a real life vistas. Like I said, you have Acre, you have Damascus, you have all these different parts of Third Crusade in Jerusalem, and it's amazing of what this game was able to provide by showing off some historical accuracy to certain parts of the game. And I think that's where this game really, what also benchmarked this game as a whole as to what we have today from Assassin's Creed Mirage, Valhalla, Odyssey, Origins. And this is the reason why I love this series so much. It's not because of you're playing as an assassin, which is totally badass, which you have to agree. But I think that's where this game really falls underline. And why I think Mirage was the better game, not just because of it's a prequel to Valhalla, but it does feel that of the original Assassin's Creed a little bit in so many different types of formats. Like maybe a little bit of the gameplay, with the sword, with by going to combat. What I will say when it comes to Mirage and Assassin's Creed 2007, they do have a little bit of similarity when it comes to its combat-focused systems. I would say when you play as Altair in the very first one, the combat is that much slower from any other further newer Assassin's Creeds. Mirage actually has that type of gameplay style from that of 2007 Assassin's Creed. While Valhalla and Odyssey and Origins provide much more of a faster approach when it comes to its combat systems, I felt like that when it came to Origins, though, it felt more of an assassin than an Odyssey and Valhalla. While Valhalla did retain some of one core aspect, which was having the hidden dagger, of course, but you didn't have your finger chopped off. The hidden dagger or the hidden blade it wasn't formatted very well. You put it on top of Eivor's wrist rather than below your wrist, and having your finger chopped off, it didn't feel the same way mechanic-wise when it comes to assassinating people in Valhalla. It did not feel the same at all, and I think that's what made me kind of fall off a little bit from Valhalla, but that's where I say Assassin's Creed 2007 is by far one of the most best games of all time, other than it's an old school title. And so that's why I loved Assassin's Creed 1, 2, Brotherhood and Revelations, and Black Flag, because in Black Flag you had the two double hidden blades, much like what Ezio was able to do in 2 and in Brotherhood and Revelations, and it's awesome. I love the fact that you actually feel like an assassin. Origins actually did that fantastically as well, other than not having the dual hidden blades, but you still had the hidden blade. Bayek actually had his finger accidentally cut off, but it was the core mechanical of being that assassin. I think that's where Origins did magnificently well, of being that close to an Assassin's Creed game. I think Origins did a better job with its core focus mechanical systems when it come to assassinating people. You did have you have to craft your hidden blade to the utmost of being it more efficient by using the assassin's hidden blade one hit towards any kind of enemy. You were able to do that in the originals, though, which was even more fantastic. And that's why I think when it came to Assassin's Creed 2007, much more into Black Flag, or I think there was another one, Assassin's Creed Unity, actually did that, though, too. And Assassin's Creed Rogue, which I did not like very much, but that's besides the point. But other than that, I really think that Assassin's Creed 2007, I still think that this game, like I said, I think it still holds up on PC much better than on console. And one thing is that what I really loved about Assassin's Creed 2007 as well, it was the fact that it brought some unique systems involved. Not much of the combat really, but it's more on the focus on the lines of eavesdropping, getting personal information, how you're going to assassinate that certain type of individual. And it was the fact that you had to gather certain types of information to have that type of progression system along for Altair to go assassinate that specific person. And I love that. I think that's where Assassin's Creed 2007 did it so properly well, other than it being an old school game. Overall, I really think that this game is still I really still think that this game still is absolutely amazing, because like I said, this game really benchmarked the the pinnacle of the most important franchise or saga that has ever been made by Ubisoft, much like from that Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time trilogy. And so I really think I would really love to see where Assassin's Creed Red is going to go. And I'm kind of curious I'm kind of scared for it though too, is because I was very skeptical when it came to Valhalla and Odyssey. And like I said, Odyssey and Valhalla, while they were still good in their own unique way, but like I said, Origins in that new RPG Assassin's Creed games is so much better in my personal opinion. And while I do believe I might get some dislikes on here, but I don't care. I'm just trying to voice my own opinion on this, and as to why I think that this game is going to really is the most important one in the series, because of how far this series has come, and it's fantastic. But other than that, I still enjoyed all of the games for the most part. I think when it comes to Assassin's Creed 2007 as well, is this game, it showed off a lot of things that I wasn't really quite expecting as well when it came to everything. Being able to open up the map a little bit more, and going to the assassins bureaus and getting better equipment and getting your rank up and everything. And that's one thing I really want to talk about here though too. And that's one thing that what Assassin's Creed Mirage does very, very well, is the fact that it harkens back to what Assassin's Creed 2007 was able to do as well in terms of the ranking. Because Al Mualim in Assassin's Creed 2007, he always gave you a different type of rank when you do certain specific acts in the game. Much like that, similar from what Mirage does, and I think that's where the old school elements of Mirage greatly shows of what Assassin's Creed 2007 does. And while I still do believe that Mirage maybe does retain some of the old school mechanics from the original games, other than Assassin's Creed 2007 or 2 or Brotherhood or Revelations or even Black Flag, but it's nothing even compared to what Assassin's Creed 2007 was able to do, because of how old it is, of why I think Assassin's Creed 2007, it might be the better game, but it's amazing how the progression has really come and evolved from what we have now. And it's fascinating, but I would really love to see what we will be getting in a not too distant future here in 2024 and further ahead. But I really think a lot of things, there is one thing I did notice a lot in Mirage that really brought me back, or harkened back to Assassin's Creed 2007. Like I said, about its combat systems with the sword fighting, with the hidden blade, obviously. It's everything what Mirage does. And another thing what Mirage does though too, they were actually able to implement a feature known as the filter of what Assassin's Creed 2017 looks like when it comes to it, when it comes to the visual fidelity of a certain type of area in the game. I really can't recall what it was. I think it was Damascus or Acre or something like that. They had a very interesting color palette, and that's one thing that's where Mirage does well though too, because Mirage actually has that feel to that of what Origins did in terms of its color palette, but with the color palette of, being able to implement that grayish blue type of tint from what Ochre or Damascus provides in 2007 for Assassin's Creed really brings out the game in Mirage fairly well. And I was thoroughly impressed with what they were able to implement there and how it shows off from a player's perspective and from a visual or graphic fidelity perspective as well. Sorry about that. And so I just think that I think Mirage it's definitely one of my favorite ones, because not just because it's a prequel to that of Valhalla. I actually enjoyed it more than I did with Valhalla, but Valhalla did bring Basim back. It really showed more of Basim's sides of a character as he is, and what he did towards Eivor by betraying him. But I really enjoyed Basim as a character in Mirage because it showed off his characterization. It showed off his profile. It showed off what he really wanted to do for the Brotherhood. And I think that's where 2007 really helped Mirage in so many perspectives when it comes to that type of core gameplay mechanics and the assassin mechanics and all of that and vice versa. And it's astounding. And like I said, I am thoroughly impressed and amazed of what Ubisoft Bordeaux was able to achieve to bring some core mechanics back to a certain degree in Mirage. And it greatly shows that from what 2007 did for Assassin's Creed. But other than that, I think Assassin's Creed 2007, I still think that this game is absolutely amazing no matter how old this game is. And it just goes to show you as to why I think that this game is still going to be one of the best down in history when it comes to video game history as well. I really think that Assassin's Creed 2007 you will always remember how this whole entire saga started. And I think that's why Assassin's Creed 2007 did it so well and implemented very well as well, being the saga that we have now. And it's fascinating. And I'm so passionate of talking about Assassin's Creed. It's the reason why I love this series as a whole, no matter if some games were not as good as most others. But I'm just telling you what I really think about this and why I think that 2007 Assassin's Creed is still one of my all-time favorites of all time, opposite that of the newer ones. But anyways, this is Jake from Citizen JV. Thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. If you guys have any comments or questions, you know what to do. I'll see you guys later, and have a good rest of your week.